All right, we are back Tuesday night, Redhook, Brooklyn, live from Redhook, here at the Function House. Mike Gentile, Anthony Vitale, and tonight we would like to welcome to our one and only show, Tommy Bones.
Yeah, this guy brings the energy, man.
What's good, everybody?
What's up, man? Did the half of the show tonight or what?
Yeah.
So I watched the show last week. You were jamming, man.
Oh, all right. So you must be talking about live from 4-4 Studios.
Yes, that's it. You do it on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, every Tuesday.
Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon, yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, I tuned in. I was checking it out. I like the music, and you were dancing, boy. You got some moves.
I probably was. I've cut back a little bit. I've been a little bit more focused because it ends up actually going on SoundCloud and Mixcloud and all these things. But
Your dance moves?
no,
But I get it because he was fresh off the plane, right from Miami.
dude, I don't even know how I
You
got
landed
to that
Tuesday. You went right to the set, and you look like you were on the beach
All
in
right,
Miami.
So the thing is with this live from 4-4 Studios is every week it's 2 hours of upfront cutting edge house music. I'm trying to keep everything that I'm doing right now very current and very what's happening, like very on the pulse of everything. And a lot of times it's like I'm literally like putting together the music that morning, and it's literally like, all right, bang. I'm like usually fresh out the shower, and I'm like, I get right in front of the equipment and go. It's 2 turntables with Serato, so there's no everything is just boom, like right there. Half of the songs, I'm hearing most of the songs the first time. So it's very interesting, and it's usually a ride. It starts off somewhere soulful, and if I'm doing anything soulful today, it's a little bit forward thinking, I guess I put it. And then it goes anywhere from, I guess, tech house to techno. So it's an interesting ride, and ends up usually with some deep house at the end. But it's a journey. It's 2 hours every week. I don't really know a lot of people that kind of do that sort of thing on a weekly basis with brand new music. It's kind of rough. 2 hours that I'm giving, so it's cool. It's really something that I'm really pushing.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it a little over a year now. We're into our second year.
And what got you into doing that show every week?
Since the whole Facebook Live thing started to happen and live streaming, I tried to. I don't have a resident. Well, I do have a residency in New York City. I do a rooftop in Long Island City called Penthouse 808. Shouts out to all my peoples there.
What night is that?
Fridays and Saturdays. So I'm there Fridays and Saturdays right now. If I head out of town, I have some good friends that cover for me. But that's one of my residencies. But what I wanted to do is actually do almost like what I would do like in a club live and give people like that platform. Today we have like a lot of these DJs that show up at festivals and they play an hour of just like bang, these are their bangers. And they don't get to bring people on a journey so much anymore. So at least I get to kind of do that for 2 hours every week. For now, 2 hours is a lot. It's to find probably 18 to 20 records a week to keep it current and a couple from the week before. It's a lot of music, so.
That show keeps you on the grind, man.
It does. It keeps me like I'm in it right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm like head first in this. Like, it's like right now it's like a lot of things are going on, so it's like I'm on it. I'm on my A game. It feels good though. It feels like like this is it. Like it's like I'm full in it. I used to have a day job. Now I'm just doing this all full time. So it's exciting. It's an exciting moment for me.
So what goes into choosing those records that you're doing on the show?
I'm very grounded. I'm actually next year will be almost like 30 years of me as a DJ. I started when I was 14. Oh God, I'm giving away my age. So yeah.
What's the secret, man? You look young.
No, I try to eat healthy. You
Dancing when he's DJing.
That's it. That too. And
calories.
sleep is important too. Make sure you kind of fit it in when you can.
And don't drink as much at the gigs.
Yeah, but the thing is with the live show, what I try to do every week is keep everything goes in a circle, right? We have all this music that comes out, but the whole thing is to keep it somewhere grounded in a way of like tastefulness. There are some records that come out now that it tends to sound cyclical. Some sound like a lot of the other records. I'm trying to break that as much as possible. And if I do play one or two of those tracks, it's got to be something that's gonna catch your ear and be like, yo, that's dope. I like the way that got flipped. And I think that's my whole thing, with the show.
Do you incorporate like any vocals into your set?
Yeah, of course. I think vocals are very important. I think people need to get back into doing vocals. Vocals aren't an easy thing, especially trying to collaborate with people. But I think that community and that sense of working with people needs to come back. Um, th- I mean, there's way too many people ripping things from like YouTube now and making tracks off of them. So I think it's important to get back to doing original pieces of work.
So you started pretty young in the DJ game. How did that all happen?
Uh, it's funny. When I was a kid, I was inspired by a lot of movies, like maybe Beat Street or anything old school like hip hop. I grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut. By the time I was 14, I went through everything from skateboarding to having crazy haircuts. My barber probably thought I was crazy from all the different haircuts I had, you know.
This is the craziest
Yeah,
one.
no, but I grew up on MTV too, from Video Kill, the Radio Star, what was it, the Buggles, or what was that group's name? All the way to like the hip hop of Yo MTV Rap. So by the time I was like 13, 14, I had the DJ bug kind of in me already. And I was actually going to a local roller skating rink at the time where the DJ got fired, and I actually got the chance to. I was friends with the owners.
Really just aged yourself.
Yeah, and this is in like 88, 89. So yeah, it was a while back,
So that was like your first official gig, playing in the roller skating?
Yeah, it kind of was. It was kind of like I was friends with the owners, and they let me come in and kind of do my thing. By the time I was 16, I was playing high school dances, and they didn't let me do that too much because there were fights and all these things breaking out. So that didn't last. But by the time I was 17, 18, 19 years old, I was actually playing in the city of New Haven, Connecticut, in some of the 21 and older clubs. So it was crazy. I always used to put because I was like this tall, like malnutrition, skinny, driving my mom's Cadillac everywhere with my friends. They all had dreadlocks and stuff. And I was like the only white kid. So it's weird. I kind of used that to my advantage to meet a lot of people, I remember really quick one time I was at Club Vinyl, and a friend of mine knew David Morales, and I got in the booth, and I was like, he just started, because at that time they would play an opening set from like open to close, and I remember standing like outside the door of the booth, and then I kind of got in the booth, and David Morales came up to me and he goes, yeah, like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, like my homegirl knows you. And he's like, oh, yo, from back in the days. He's like, yeah, you can stay in the booth. So I would just, all these little ways, like, because I was always the white kid at the club, like finding my way into these clubs. So it was kind of cool that, these people would meet me. And then every time I would go out, they saw me dance. So they'd be like, oh, that's Tommy, Yeah. So I was known as probably as a dancer in the New York club scene. But, I mean, I was handing out mixtapes and all that stuff too. But, it took me a while
to be on the grind.
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, I think it was a little bit, it was definitely easier because all you had to do was show up and, hand stuff out to people, cassettes or whatever. Now you have all this social media, and how many numbers on social media make you important and all of this stuff, So it's.
So how do you stay on top of that? Because that's a full-time job.
Dude, it is. I start it in the morning. Like, actually, I wake up and I'm just like, how do I start my day? I try not to look at CNN or any of that crazy stuff, and just try to dive right in, like, do the social media side of everything. And then by 12, 1, 2 in the afternoon, I'm freshened up and starting the studio. So
you work daytimes in the studio?
Yeah, I'm there during the day because my neighbor, he's starting to hate me below me. No. So, yeah, I do most of my work during the day until 8 p.m. Then at night I put in my headphones. Yeah. So
coming up, I mean, who was some of the DJs that you were inspired by?
Oh, man, that's crazy. That's a good question. Wow, I mean, I've heard Louis so many times, like, and it's amazing to hear from the New York and Soul days all the way to now. Joe Clausel, at Body and Soul, Danny Krivit, Francois K. Body and Soul was a huge part of my, upbringing from like 1996 all the way to 2004. I was probably there every weekend. Listening to those guys. But I think I've just about heard everybody come through New York City. I don't think there's one legendary DJ that I probably haven't heard during the 90s, because I was at the club every week. Like, at the club, from Sound Factory Bar to Tunnel to Palladium to Limelight
You were getting educated.
Yeah, to Vinyl, to all of those spaces. I got to hear, like, everyone.
It was school, man.
Yeah.
going out.
It was amazing, amazing times in New York City. You know, up until like 9/11 and all before that, so amazing. New York City.
I think the scene. I think what you're going to see now, over the next year or so, is you're going to see that sort of scene start coming back, especially with like that house, that soulful house music, the Afro house music. You're going to see it's going to kind of change again, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a problem where it's kind of like the new school guys kind of like do almost like a copy and paste style production, and I think it's gonna start to burn itself out. And I think we need to get back to like almost like original programming. Of music creation, you know, where you're creating something from scratch that's magical.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to go back to that. There's too many records that break and it comes in with a noise, and you're just like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but how many records can we hear that sound like this?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with like the EDM bubble, which I think burst, right?
Right.
And it's just like EDM is kind of like tired.
Yeah.
You know, that genre of music is kind of tired, and I think now is the perfect opportunity where you're going to sort of see that transition.
Yeah.
And all the people that were on that EDM ride are now more mature and they're more educated, so they're gravitating more towards this newer music. Newer music, but sort of the different genres.
Just the newest sound.
And their ears are getting more mature, and you know, it's just like they don't want to hear like that one key.
Right.
You know, and so I think it's the perfect time because you're going to get that whole wave of people who are ready for that next step.
You know what's amazing? Like I would take my friends from Connecticut and I'd go like, I'm going to New York City for the weekend. They'd be like, you're crazy, you're going to New York. People get robbed in New York City. And I'm like, no, just come along with me. And I think the more people that bring people to an experience of hearing really good quality DJs, you know, is like important. Like when I was in Ibiza, I went to hear DJ Harvey at this place called Pikes, and it's almost like you can't get in there unless it's like you're ahead, or like, you know, if you show up with like 6 people, they're gonna be like, no. But when you go to these type of parties, you're going there for like an experience, you know, to hear something that you probably have never heard before. It's so amazing, you know. And I think there needs to be a little bit more focus on things like that. You know, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's very saturated. You know, so it's like, of course, you're gonna have this level, you know.
So are you going out to listen to other DJs play?
Yeah, of course.
So
probably now more than ever. Wherever. I mean, there's so many things happening in New York right now. In fact, you know, how many venues do we have right now in Brooklyn? Just, it's insane. You know, you guys got this great thing going on. There's so many great places to go and experience like music today, you know.
And it's crazy how there's not that many places in Manhattan, like for sort of the house music culture, right?
You
like
know,
it's
Manhattan is just a different. It's crazy. You know, when I first came to New York City, it kind of hits me in the heart because I always felt the power of New York City when I came to New York City. You know, when I was like 13, 14, I was like, this is a magical, powerful place. And now sometimes I look at it and I'm kind of like, it's just New York's Manhattan skyline. But you watch something like New Jack City, and you're like, oh, shit, like that was, sorry for the language, but you're like, that was New York City,
yeah,
right?
Well, you know where you could still experience sort of that old school New York City feel? The Lower East Side.
Yeah.
It's still kind of like that.
There's still pockets
like
of it.
If you want to feel like you're in old school New York, you go to the Lower East Side.
No, there's still spots, like what, they got that party Battle Hymn at Flash Factory, which is very, like, you know, very cool, it feels like you're almost in the 90s, so. There's going to be venues that are, of course, going to pop up in Manhattan, and, you know, there's so many people there, so it's a great place to have parties.
Yep.
But the whole vibe of the city is just changed, you know?
The club scene in Manhattan is just too much of a business. Nobody's buying bottles at house music events.
Well, I don't know. I keep hearing people talking about that now, that it's switching. There's going to be more bottle service stuff going on in places, so I don't know. So it goes through its cycles, man, you know? I'm all for it as long as the DJ's dope, you know. And I'm going to a place that, you know.
So you were in Miami for the Winter Music Conference?
Yes, and Miami Music Week, yes.
How was that? We heard, you know, we talked to a lot of people that were down there, so we heard some good things about Miami and how there was just sort of like a good buzz going on.
Well, I think if you don't go, you're definitely missing out on opportunities. Like, you have a lot of people coming, especially from overseas. If you're a new DJ coming up in the scene, it's definitely worth it maybe to pay the money and go into some of these venues and see some of the DJs and try to rub some elbows with people. That's the only way you really kind of can get things done. It's nice to sit at home and make tracks and send them to people, but when you actually get to reach out and shake your hands with somebody that you've been talking to. What I did notice this year about Miami is it's becoming a little bit more like Amsterdam, where not everything's really centralized. You kind of have to travel a bit. Now you have to go to Wynwood, or you have to go downtown, or some of the parties are in South Beach. But it's like you have to bounce around every day.
There's a ton of parties.
A lot of Uber receipts.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but it's exciting. You know, there's a resurgence of these underground venues. So you have all that stuff like Wynwood is crazy. You know.
You played out there, right?
Yeah, I did a thing called Keep It Deep, but it's a old school like venue. It's been there for a while. Kill Your Idol, cool little spot, but it's always jumping in there. So
Yeah, well, I'm sure that every place is crazy busy.
Yeah.
It's just the city is just nuts. Right?
Yeah, I love Miami. That starts off my summer, just going there every March. I've been doing it 18 years.
Did you get to meet Pitbull?
No.
He's Mr. 305. There,
No.
right?
So let's talk a little bit about production.
That's funny.
You're on your production game.
Yes.
How often are you in the studio?
I try to be in the studio. I try to put space into it, but I'm really in the studio like maybe try to do at least 6 hours a day, because I don't like the pressure of just being, But lately what I like to do is I'll actually start a foundation of a track in the house where I can hear everything nice and loud and how it's thumping and everything. And then what I'll do is I'll go the next day, I'll go to a cafe, put on my headphones, get my little fancy little whatever, sipping on my tea and working on arranging. So now we have the freedom to do that today. You could bring a laptop somewhere, but I really enjoy kind of doing that now.
And do you take a picture of yourself while you're making that track and post it on Instagram?
Sometimes you have to show me where you're working. I'm always working. When I go to a cafe, I really disconnect because I'm like, all right, I got to be focused. I don't have the internet. I don't turn it on. And I'm just like in whatever I'm doing. So when I get home, I tend to get a little distracted. So I'm like, that way when I start at home, like I'll bring it out and I start working and then focus.
So you have a bunch of tracks out. I looked up all your tracks. What was the one that made a impact for you?
Well, this year the one I did was So Nervous. That was on Nervous Records. Last year I was working a lot on Kenny Dope's label, Dope Wax, and released several records that were making some buzz as far as DJs playing them. Carl Cox was playing one of the songs, which I would never expect in my life,
It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it's cool to have some of the big guys play your records. Throughout the years, I've had some of the big guys play some of my songs, and it's always like you're always like whoa, these guys are.
So did you experience it on a streaming set or?
My friends text me. They were like, "Yo, he's playing your song." I'm like, "What? This is cool." I was like, "This is cool."
No, that's definitely got to be a great.
So yeah, when stuff like that happens, at least you kind of start to know you're on the right path. But everything I'm doing right now, I call it forward-thinking music. It's rooted in old school traditions of house music, but it's just like boom. It's just like taking it to the next step. Like there's something in my tracks that you're just gonna be like, oh, that's like different, or maybe that sounds like it's not supposed to be there, but it's there and it works. Yeah. That's the type of thing that I'm really interested in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you get yourself in that groove, right, of making those tracks, and then people start, they start gravitating towards you, and then after a while, it's just like everybody's going to be checking out your new stuff that's coming out because they're like, we like Tommy Bones' sound, and it's just like they're going to go and see everything. So, that's how it just sort of happened.
I don't know what my sound is, though. I don't know if I've ever created a sound. I just like creating, and just it's not really so much whatever I feel that day. It's kind of like I just get in there and create, but I try to make it fit into what's going on right now. In my head right now, as I'm getting older, I don't really want to make old people music. I want to make stuff that rocks dance floors, and I want to make stuff that makes kids go crazy in a warehouse right now. That's where I'm at right now. I'm not I'm not doing the baby powder thing right now. That's for sure.
You doing any collabs?
Working on some things. Yeah. I've been doing some remix stuff over the winter time. Some things about to come out. And some tracks. They're all going to probably be out this summer, but yeah.
What labels are they going to be out on?
Definitely working with Kenny's label. I have a follow-up I'm working on with Nervous, to the So Nervous thing. And that's it. Like, you know, my stuff is very targeted. So if I'm working on something, I might send it to a certain label and be like, hey, you know, I thought you guys might be interested in something like this. But that's the way I work. I don't make a bunch of tracks and be like, I have a whole bunch of stuff lying around. I'm like, I make a track, right? Or 2 or 3. And I'm like, this can go with these guys, or this could go with these guys. And that's kind of the way I work it. I'm not like, you know, I'm not a factory producer. I'm a targeted producer. I keep my stuff targeted and direct. Whatever I'm making, I'm trying to make sure it's hot, like killer. And then, you know, make sure it goes to the right places.
Are we gonna hear these tracks tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I'll sneak
Unreleased?
some of them in.
Unreleased
Yeah, I got some unreleased stuff. I'm gonna sneak them in. There's a couple. So yeah.
So you gotta signal us when you're playing though, so we know that. You just grabbed it, yeah.
That's my shit.
Well, thanks for coming down, bro.
Yo, it's great.
We appreciate it.
Yo, I'm so thankful, man. Every opportunity is a blessing, so I'm glad to be here.
No, we appreciate.
I hope I didn't talk too fast. I'm a fast talker. I don't know where I got that from.
No, you're good.
We'll slow
right.
it
We'll
down.
take a 2-minute break. We're gonna get Tommy Bones up on
Cool.
the decks.
Thank
Peace.
you guys.
Peace.